Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 5 of the m3Atl0af blog. Hope you guys had a really good holiday and got a lot of great gifts, spent some time with the family, all that jazz. You guys all know the deal. Now, the topic for today's episode didn't exactly come from a suggestion per se, but it rather came from a conversation that I've had in the comment section of the first episode of the m3Atl0af blog with RJ Robinson. And even so, I kind of wanted to get to this sort of topic for quite a while now, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do it originally. I was debating whether or not I should do it as a text post that would probably go on my DeviantArt or probably Facebook or Tumblr or something like that. And I was also thinking, maybe I could just make a whole video out of it and, just explain about it. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now, but I didn't think that I would actually turn this into a m3Atl0af blog episode. But I thought, you know what? I have my own show now. This is the perfect opportunity. Why not get this out of the way right now? So, as you couldn't tell from the title alone, this episode is basically me giving you guys the origin story of how I became a Brony. Now, for those of you who have been following me for years now, you guys don't know that I didn't originally start off making pony videos. It was mainly just Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and other stuff like that. My channel originally started out basically, this is another topic I have to get to eventually, but I'll just say this real fast. My channel started out as something that I was inspired to do by other YouTubers at the time back in 07 and 06 when I first discovered YouTube. And they were doing their own little blog series talking about Pokemon and showing off their playthroughs and everything and showing off their Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks, what monsters they use and spell cards and everything like that. You guys all know about this, and it still goes on today. And for those of you who are following me at the current time, you are all probably aware that I haven't done anything like this in such a long time. I have started out my channel by doing Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck showcases and showing off stuff from my Pokemon games like, Wi-Fi battles that I've had with other people, namely Lorenzo. But I haven't done anything like that in such a long time, and mainly the only other non-pony thing that comes to mind that I think I've done beyond the m3Atl0af blog is videos related to Smash Bros. And convention videos that showcase other franchises in general. And it wasn't until 2012, I think, or 11, that pony videos started surfacing on my channel with no prior announcements, which thus gave the automatic indication that I am indeed a member of the herd and fully respect what goes on inside of it, and started doing my own videos to pay tribute to it. And that's basically how most other pony YouTubers start out. They start out their YouTube channel with a certain goal that has nothing to do with My Little Pony, and they probably started it way before 2010, and nowadays they probably do something that is either strictly pony or they have a Brony audience in mind while also having a different audience in mind, like, maybe they're otakus and they do anime reviews and stuff like that, or maybe they review comic books or anything of the norm. And that's a pretty common thing for YouTubers to be doing nowadays, and that's kind of pretty much holds the same for me and the F.U.N channel as a whole. I'll get to my whole F.U.N channel origins thing in another episode, but for now, I just want to discuss why exactly am I a member of the herd, how did I join the herd, and why am I still a part of it to this day, and why exactly is it a franchise I highly respect. This actually goes back to 2011, I believe, so let me think back. So as I stated earlier, I started out as a YouTuber who wanted to do stuff related to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. So, obviously, if you couldn't tell, I was huge on Pokemon at the time. Pokemon was pretty much my addiction. I was playing Pokemon nonstop. I was inspired by some friends of mine in elementary school to get back into the series beyond the anime and start playing the video games. And I started out with a copy that technically didn't belong to me, but was a Sapphire version. This is another episode I'll have to get to, but regardless, I was huge on Pokemon, and eventually I decided to start looking up resources to learn more about the franchise itself and what other fans think online. I came across this podcast a while back called the Pokemon Times, which was the original name at the time, and later on they changed their name to Palette Tribune a few years later. It was basically this bi-weekly podcast which was actually the #1 podcast on iTunes at the time that it was around. They had a forum eventually around the time when the Palette Tribune became the name of the show. And it's because of that forum that I ended up meeting one of my best friends. Her name, as it was on the forums, was Nidorina. Obviously, it was named after the Pokemon called Nidorina. And her real name in real life, I won't give out the full name obviously, but her name is Amira. And I noticed that on her profile, she had a lot of references to the Powerpuff Girls. And for those of you who are unaware, the Powerpuff Girls is basically the cartoon that inspired me to become an animator, and it's also one of my favorite 90s shows of all time. So obviously, because for once, I am no longer the only Powerpuff Girl fan who was existing on that forum. There was finally another person that I can actually converse with and possibly befriend and have, discussions with about the franchise itself, get someone else's thoughts on it. And it turns out that she was really huge on Powerpuff Girls, and I still remember the first message that I ever sent her on her forum page was the city of Townsville. And then we immediately just started like a whole little joke roleplay thing where we're like, he's under attack by Mojo Jojo and other stuff like that. And so eventually from then on we became forum friends essentially, and it got to the point where I started following her on her other accounts, such as on DeviantArt, and eventually we even added each other on Facebook. And as time grew and as we started conversing with each other more, I actually started to develop feelings for her. Eventually, I noticed that at some point around like 2011 or so, I think early 2011, or maybe not, maybe mid 2011, I can't exactly remember, but the year 2011, she had profile pictures and statuses and such on her DeviantArt profile that were related to My Little Pony. And basically, I remember the first ever profile picture that I've seen that she had that was a pony was Fluttershy. Which, quite possibly, in that regard, Fluttershy might just be the first pony I have ever witnessed in the entire Generation 4. Strange. But afterwards, she even changed her profile picture to Rainbow Dash as well. And, I thought, hey, why don't I catch up with what she's following and become knowledgeable in this franchise, so then that way I'll be able to discuss that with her as well, and maybe she could feel comfortable talking about it with me. I decided to look up where what the franchise is and basically find where I could watch the episodes itself, and I ended up finding the first 3 episodes of the series on demand for free and online. So I decided, why not? Nobody's home, and why don't I just dedicate this time to see why exactly she's into this? Because keep in mind, she's not a little girl. She's in her teen years. I watched through Friendship is Magic Part 1 and 2 and The Ticketmaster, I think that was the episode. The first 3 episodes of the entire series. And as soon as I was done with the 3 of them, the first thing that immediately came to my mind was, well, that wasn't that bad. Because I remember, as soon as I started watching it, I was like, am I really gonna do this? What am I getting myself into? Am I really just gonna do this just so I can probably impress this girl with my knowledge and everything? And I also remember, I look at the opening credits and I see the ending credits, and I noticed that there's a lot of people that I know who are listed in those credits. There's Lauren Faust, who is the developer for the Generation 4 series, and the reason why I was able to recall her name was because I had previously seen her in the 10th anniversary Powerpuff Girls documentary that had been made by Cartoon Network and released on iTunes after the final 10th anniversary episode was released. That was made by Craig McCracken and Flash. So that's how I remember her, and I saw Tara Strong on there. She's voicing Twilight Sparkle, and I saw a bunch of other people, Rob Renzetti. These are all names that I recognize and that I know from other stuff that I've seen throughout my entire life. So, maybe that's one of the reasons why this is so good, besides the fact that it's not as girly as the commercials make the franchise out to be. Yeah, I decided to binge watch the entire season 1 afterwards over YouTube, and eventually I approached Amira again on her DeviantArt, and I remember initially telling her, because her profile was still Rainbow Dash at the time, I told her, Rainbow Dash can make you 20% cooler in 10 seconds flat, and her immediate reply to that comment was, "You're a brony!" And the funny thing was, I had absolutely no idea what the heck she was talking about. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I in fact became a brony without even knowing what the heck a brony was. I did not know about the whole brony community. I did not know about the existence of bronies, nor the fact that there were other people like me who were curious about the franchise and ended up really liking the franchise and becoming hardcore fans because of it and because of how it was designed and all that. I had no idea about, the existence of bronies going into the series. And after doing research of what exactly a brony is, I initially felt comfortable because, I'm not alone in being one of the only teenage guys growing up into high school who is suddenly hooked on this series that is supposed to be aimed towards little kids about colorful equines who do magical stuff and learn about the magic of friendship. And that there are actually other people like me who are just as curious about how this series is so amazing and how it can be so addictive to watch each episode after another. And keep in mind, I had not seen any of the previous My Little Pony cartoons, especially since they were never usually on TV anyways, and me being a little boy growing up, I probably wouldn't be into that kind of stuff anyways, since I usually avoided cartoons that had women in the lead role, because one of the problems that shows like that had back in the day was the fact that they would always go out of their way to make the show too girly or make boys the enemies or, make a big deal about cooties and everything like that. All that stereotypical boys versus girl things. I did not like that back in the day, and that crap was done over and over and over again, and it gets really tiring and jarring after a while. Obviously, one of the only exceptions to that was Powerpuff Girls, for the obvious reasons that most of you should already know by now, but anyways. My only real experience with My Little Pony prior to watching Friendship is Magic was all the Generation 3 and 3.5 commercials about all the different dolls that little girls would be playing with on the commercials on the baby pony toys, and none of that obviously attracted me, and it would always start off, with my little pony, something, something, insert something into the lyrics. Obviously, I was not into that kind of stuff. It makes me appreciate the opening to Friendship is Magic because it is not at all annoying. If anything, it is an earworm in the good sense. So, props to Lauren Faust for designing the lyrics for that. But anyways, yeah, this show was unlike anything that I've ever seen before. It was addicting. It had a colorful cast of characters. It had interesting characters. It had interesting plot points. It had all kinds of life lessons to be learned that can actually be applied to your real, actual life. It had all the more familiar voices. It had writers that I'm familiar with from previous shows. It had animators that actually cared about what the heck they were animating and made them look realistic and human-like, and they reacted so humanly to all of these awkward situations that they would be put into. I previously brought this up in episode 1 of the m3Atl0af blog, how I appreciate that DHX usually goes out of their way to make something look as realistic as possible for a 2D animated cartoon. And that is one of the many reasons why it is probably my favorite cartoon of the modern day. So being a dedicated fan that I am, I started getting more into the fandom, and I started finding out what was hot thanks to Equestria Daily. I started finding out about all the Brony celebrities and musicians and fan voice actors and actresses and basically all the people who was who in the fandom itself. And at that point, I pretty much was a fully fledged brony, and it got to the point where I was inspired to start making my own content for the community itself. So, I wanted to make fan fiction, I wanted to make videos, I wanted to make the occasional musical covers whenever I could, and, all the other stuff. And of course, artwork as well. I can't believe I didn't say that first, being that, animation. But anyways, regardless, I became a hardcore brony at that point, and I've been hearing about all the different conventions that they would have strictly dedicated to Friendship is Magic beyond the occasional appearances at Comic-Con. So I wanted to obviously go to a brony convention. Obviously the biggest one was BronyCon, and this was during the time when it was still around in New York, and I've always wanted to go to one. And well, actually, before I go on to conventions itself, I should explain that obviously I didn't want to be alone in my adventures in the pony universe, so I tried to get Lawrence, who was still this awesome guy that I would hang out with often. every Saturday at our acting class, and we didn't really do much videos of anything besides Pokemon. And I talked to him. Like I remember sending him a message over Facebook telling him, "Bro, this is the next franchise that we really need to get into. Google these initials, MLP:FIM." And I remember the first message that he sent to me immediately afterwards was, "You've got to be kidding me." So it was hard to get him into the herd, but then again, it always is hard for anyone to get someone into being a brony. And it wasn't until Little Karibo himself actually favorited this video called Rainbow Dash Reloaded, which was an edited scene from The Matrix Reloaded, where it's that scene where the two trucks are colliding into each other, and the main protagonists are like jumping out of the way or something. Like I don't exactly remember the scene at hand. I'm not a Matrix aficionado, so I might have this wrong, obviously, but the scene was edited to have Rainbow Dash right screen the two protagonists out of there, and then at the end the guy was like, "Yay!" and then Fluttershy was like, "Yay!" And Lawrence had found that scene so awesome that he actually was convinced to join the herd and start watching the episodes. And so I was no longer alone in my quest to become known in the Brony community and also celebrate the fandom itself and franchise as well. And so it was actually his idea that we start going to a Brony convention. Obviously, I've always wanted to do it, but the problem was convincing my folks about me being into this franchise, because they still hadn't known yet. I was a closet Brony to my family, basically. I hadn't told them that I was a fan of My Little Pony. I hadn't bought any merchandise. If anything, I started to draw and print out pictures of ponies, but they didn't really catch on, and they didn't exactly know that those pony characters came from the My Little Pony franchise itself. So the hard part was convincing my folks about going to BronyCon, of which the next one was going to be summer 2012. And Lawrence had told me, let's go over there and let's meet all these awesome people. Not to mention the fact that this would probably be the last convention that we would be able to go out and meet Lauren Faust, who, for those of you who don't know, is one of my main inspirations of wanting to be an animator, right next to Craig McCracken. So I thought, yeah, we should probably go take that opportunity while we still can. So eventually I convinced my mother that, about why I was into the franchise and why we wanted to go to the convention so badly. And yeah, eventually my folks found out about it. My sister was actually the one who found out by catching me in the act of watching episodes, I think. And I think that's how it was. And she started asking me what's up with all the ponies and everything like that. Why is that rainbow pony in all your videos? Is she your mascot or something like that, or is she your sidekick or something? And eventually, my entire family knows right now that I am Brony, and they respect that fact. And eventually we went to BronyCon 2012 back in the summer, and you guys don't know how that turned out. If you don't, then go check out our video. It was also because of the hype of me being so excited for BronyCon 2012 that I ended up becoming a member of the Bronies NYC meetup page, and as a result, I was able to get that email that informed me about the new convention that was going to be happening by the folks who brought us Bronies NYC, and that was none other than Big Apple PonyCon, as it was called back then. Because of the fact that BronyCon had moved out of New York and gone off to Baltimore, as they are remaining today, we decided that, we're probably not even going to be able to make it to the next BronyCon anyway, so why not give this convention a shot? So we did, and we ended up having a fantastic time, as you guys saw in our hour-and-a-half long video. And so we decided to come back every single year afterwards and do a convention video dedicated to each year that we go. And because of that, we became friends with the higher-ups at Bronies NYC and PonyCon NYC, and it led to the big friendship that we have nowadays. And now we work for them, which is, again, a really cool, honorable opportunity that we got to have. And, throughout that whole time, that since season... Oh, yeah, I didn't even explain when exactly I became a Brony. I became a Brony during the time when Season 2 wasn't even around. This was during the time when Season 1 was the only thing that was out at the time. and we were speculating on what season 2 was going to be about. Who is this new mysterious Discord character going to even look like? Yeah, that's how early it was when I finally joined a herd. So I guess you could technically say that I've been a brony since the very beginning. Not the very, very beginning, but basically when the whole roots of the whole community began sprouting. So I've been a brony for about 4 years or so. So yeah, I am quite literally one of the long-running ones that have actually managed to stay in the fandom this whole time. And in that time, I have made many new friends in the community, and I have met many people who make the community what it is today and shape up the entire fandom. And I've also managed to recruit some new bronies as a result. I guess to make a long story short, the entire reason of how I became a brony in the first place was to pretty much impress a girl I liked. And because of that, not only did I end up finally having a girlfriend, but as a result, I've also sort of changed my life. I went into this franchise with an open mind, and because of how successful that turned out, I've started looking into other franchises with open minds, and I've met all sorts of amazing and incredible people as a result, and through each and every single one of them, I've grown as a person, and I've learned to understand that, you know, even the most unusual things that you end up encountering in your life could end up changing you for the better. And quite frankly, I think I made the right choice becoming a brony and staying as a brony, because at the time that I first joined the herd, it wasn't exactly a peaceful, happy-go-lucky time in my life, and I was wondering, what am I even going to do with my channel, and where am I going to go with this whole Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh show? Because my original TFC host, I no longer had him. I no longer had, I'm still friends with him, obviously, but I no longer do videos with him, and I haven't put out anything interesting in my channel. It's never going to get noticed. It's going to be overshadowed by every other popular Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon channel on the internet. And when I was introduced into this franchise, everything in my life and in my YouTube career and online career as a whole started changing for the better. And to this day, I still appreciate that. I appreciate every single person that I have met and that I've recruited, and to those who understand why I'm in the fandom, and to those who respect people's choices and why they chose to be part of the herd, and to those who respect them and give thanks to them and pay tribute, and to the many wonderful people at Hasbro and DHX, and of course Lauren Faust as well, and the entire VA cast, and of course to the many conventions out there, Bronies NYC especially, with coming out with PonyCon and technically also BronyCon, for inventing a successful way for people who are in the herd to actually meet up in real life and exchange their viewpoints and opinions and their adoration for this now lovable franchise. Obviously, it was lovable before, but not by a whole big audience. But now there's millions of bronies around the world. There's people all around the entire earth who are bronies. There's millions of us now. My Little Pony definitely has not had the huge fan base that it now has back in the day, and I'm certainly glad to be among those millions. I now essentially see a pony every day, if not in the form of episodes, then in the form of merchandise, because I now have plenty of merchandise around my room. You know, every corner that you turn, there's always some sort of MLP-related merchandise, whether they be fan-made or official, resting on some flat surface. And I really appreciate everything I've bought and everything that I have contributed to the community as a whole as well. Now, if only people stopped complaining about every new thing that happened in the series. But that's a topic for another day. My Little Pony as a whole is something that I will now follow probably until the end of time, and then some. Because it has shown me how fantastic of a franchise it can be in the modern day and age. It has united all kinds of incredible and remarkable people into the herd, and has given me a reason to continue being a brony. And I probably will always be a brony. I don't think I will find any reason whatsoever to drop out of the herd. You know, there are some fandoms that I can drop out of, but My Little Pony will never be one of them. So to each and every single person that I have met because of MLP, and to those who continue to inspire and encourage me to remain in the herd. Amy, obviously, for being the reason that I am a brony in the first place. You know, I still thank you to this day, and love you, sis. Lawrence, obviously, for always sticking by my side and accepting my choices, and for actually joining the herd upon my recommendation. John Michael, Team Triforce, Caesar, Isaac, the entire PonyCon crew, each and every single one of you, thank you so much for accepting us into the crew and appreciating all of the works that we work hard on creating and putting out for you guys and for the entire internet as a whole. All the Brony celebrities that I have met over the years, Animated James, Nuaking, Rena Chan, all of you guys, and to all the show staff members, and the voice actors and actresses, and Lauren Faust, everybody who is involved with the franchise, Bonnie Zachary. If I don't mention your name, it doesn't mean that you're not any less significant in my life. Each and every single one of you guys mean a lot to me in so many different ways that I can't even begin to explain, or I can't even explain at all. And the same goes out to all of my fans, followers, supporters, etc. for supporting me up until this very day and giving me a reason to do stuff online every single day. Oh, and by the way, Twilight Sparkle, Rainbow Dash, and Vinyl Scratch are best ponies. I'm just kidding. Those are my favorites, though. Just getting that out of the way. That's kind of why they're also on the thumbnail. Derpy's there, obviously, because she's derpy. And, Spike. You guys gotta appreciate Spike. Come on. Kathy Westluck. Voice of Nier. Can Utonium. Chaozu. Young Trunks. So before I start a ruckus in the comments, let me give you guys the questions of the episode. What did you guys think of my Brony origin story? It's kind of unusual. It might be unique among the entire collection of Brony origin stories online. And how did you become a Brony? If you are a member of the herd, how did you join the herd? If you guys want, you can totally go in depth and be lengthy with your comments. I do read each and every single one of them. And while you're at it, please give me a topic suggestion for future episodes, because I do read the comments and I do respond to them. And eventually they might end up becoming an actual episode. Oh, and hey, if you've been a fan of MLP since the 80s or before Friendship is Magic, when did you join in and why? If you've been a Brony since before it was cool, don't be afraid to tell me, because I'm interested in that kind of stuff too. I actually, I've said this before, I respect all the previous generations and appreciate what they went out to do and how they pretty much were responsible for shaping Generation 4 as a whole. So, if you are a previous generation fan, because I am friends with people who are fans of the previous generations, then don't be afraid to share your origin stories in the comments as well. Oh, and who is your favorite pony, or dragon, or creature, or whatever from the franchise? And it can be from any generations. I'm opening it up to all of that, and you can say multiples if you want, but please give reasons as to why you like them, not just cuz as your reason. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys have a very happy holidays and a prosperous new year. See you guys in 2015. Bro hoof.